Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Arseholics. As always, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Myers. So just want to quickly say, if you enjoy the episode, if you enjoy our content, please support the channel by hitting the thumbs up button and sharing the Arseholics with any other Arsenal fans or any other football fans that you think would be interested in listening to us. So we've just finished the game, or the game's just finished. Arsenal won, Slavia Prague won in the first leg of the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Extremely frustrating night, pretty poor performance, really. A night of missed chances, I guess. And in the end, there was that killer blow from Prague that, for those of you who watched the game, would have probably sensed it was coming. They had their moments through the game, and we rode our luck a little bit. So, boys, sort of initial reactions, really, on the back of that result.
Where do you start, man? It's almost a bit like the Liverpool game, where I'm more annoyed with the performance than I am with the actual scoreline. Like 1-1, it's not ideal. They've got the away goal, but in terms of the context of the tie, I still fancy us to go through. But it's the way we played today, the way the game developed, the way the tactics developed, and how we conceded that equaliser that really annoys me.
I'm annoyed at both, to be honest. The result and the performance.
Yeah.
Like, I think the only thing is, I suppose, on reflection, if you take the emotion away, we actually ended up having quite a lot of quite good chances, and hitting the woodwork a couple of times and just fluffing a number of chances we should have scored. Like, in retrospect, it kind of feels like, even though the performance was crap, I agree the performance was crap, we had enough chances to win the game, and it's just really annoying to see us play another game where we miss rude chances.
Yeah, miss chances.
Missed chances, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I got what you meant, don't worry. Yeah, we miss chances, but then also defensive errors, right? It's always the same formula. Like, we play okay. We miss loads of chances, we don't take our chances, and then we just do something stupid. Sometimes it happens at the start of the game, but today it happened right at the end of the game. But it's just, one step forward, two steps back every single game.
Absolutely. Yeah, go much.
No, mate. It's exactly that. It feels like we almost... I feel like with this game, I accepted that at some point they're going to have a number of good chances, and we probably have to assume they're going to score. And I think we all assumed that we would concede today in our predictions. It's just feels really... when you look at the game, and there's just so many things that you can point to, but I feel like fundamentally the result does impact how you reflect on a game. It does. And because it is 1-1, we're going to reflect on a lot of negative things, and rightfully so. There were lots and lots of negative things, but I still think at this level, and this has been happening all season, there are so many chances which we just don't put away, which are easy. And there were so many easy chances today. And I say easy, I mean at this level easy. I don't mean open goal easy. It's still at this level easy chances where if you put those away, you reflect on the game in a very different way. We could have easily won 3-0 with the same performance that we showed today. And then you reflect on the performance, you go, actually, to be honest, like, was it actually that bad at all? So that's just what's frustrating for me, that we just keep on giving ourselves reasons to get really annoyed at the things that haven't gone well by just not doing the basic things that we should be doing right.
So do you think we played well today?
No, not necessarily, no. But I think that it doesn't really matter, like, when it comes to getting results, and that's what we don't get results when we're not playing well, and other teams get results when they're not playing well. And
I think of, like, the one team that plays, I hate to say it, one team that has mastered this season not playing well and getting results is Man United, and they won today. I had no idea how they played, but we're like the complete opposite. Sometimes we play well. Well, to be fair, sometimes we don't play well either, but we often are very guilty of playing well and just finding ways to not win games through defensive errors or just not finishing, where we just need to learn to get results, especially at this time of the season where performances don't really matter. it's about, the performance you can excuse if you get a result at the end of it. If, for example, this game finishes 1-0, we probably think, oh, well, we got away with that. Let's just get through the tie. It's too late in the season now to start thinking about how do we build something. It's about now is the time you reap the rewards of the hard work of things that you've built throughout the season. The problem is we haven't built anything throughout the season. We started our season in January, basically, because we spent 4 months just figuring out who to play and realizing that our senior players weren't that good enough. And then today we end up playing some of those same senior players and they let us down.
Yeah, there is that whole dying on the sword thing, right? Like the one thing with Arteta that seems to just, it's a bit of a contradiction. It feels like he's willing to take a stand on some, and in the same way, like he'll apply a different rule to someone else. And today, again, with the kind of selection of Willian, and Willian, I don't think necessarily played that badly, but I think he's held
Really?
Auba accountable. Well, I don't think he played that badly. Like, I don't think it was like a terrible performance. It wasn't like as bad as some of the performances that I think we've seen Willian put in previously. But I guess the point I was going to make is I still don't think that he should be picked over some of the other players that were available. Like, I think Martinelli should have started. I think most of Arsenal Twitter, like, it probably felt that way. And I generally tend to back managers in times like this because I sort of think, okay, they know more about football than we do. But at the same time, it felt very frustrating that it feels like there are things that he seemingly has to keep learning about this team that everyone else seems to look at and go, mate, could you not have seen that earlier? Although he seems to be an incredibly intelligent guy. And so there's a lot of contradictions and a lot of frustrations that make it really hard for me personally anyway, to actually figure out where we're going wrong. Is it the manager? Is it tactics? Is it players? I don't know. It's just getting very frustrating.
I mean,
I think
even yeah.
Go on, Gomez.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, even I questioned the selection when the team came out. I not so much questioned it, but I was, obviously you're wondering where Aubameyang was, thinking maybe Martinelli should have started, as you say. But you kind of go with it because, like you say, there, Saka's back, ESR's back, Willian and Lacazette are experienced players, and you'd like to think that they can put in a performance against a kind of lower quality opposition that Prague are in a competition that at this stage, even at the quarterfinal stage, we should still be dominating this game, at home. I guess I was just gonna start talking about the fact that, like you said, and we were saying it in our chat during the game, the first half wasn't particularly great. That Saka chance aside, I don't remember there being too many other chances. It sort of seemed to open up a bit more in the second. And even at half time, we were having a debate about what should he change. And I was saying, you put Aubameyang and Martinelli kind of running behind their backline and playing off the last defender. It creates a whole different problem for their defense, as opposed to Lacazette and Willian, who don't really offer you that. And it took him until the sort of 75th, was it, minute? Well, I think Martinelli came on a bit earlier, but then he made that triple substitution. It took him a long time. And I think it's just adding to what you were saying about that Arteta's kind of decision-making, especially when it comes to his subs and team selection and subs. It is a bit baffling at times. It is a bit strange. And like, we can see it. And you saw the impact that these guys came on. The impact that these guys had when they came on. The intensity completely changed. The pattern of the game completely changed. We were all over them. There was quick passing. It was literally within the first few seconds or 60 seconds of these guys coming on the right hand side, ESR, Pepe, Aubameyang interchange, and the ball comes out to Aubameyang, and he probably should score. It's a good chance. So yeah, I was just kind of adding to what you're saying, Raj, about questions to be answered really for me on Arteta and what his thinking is behind some of the decisions he's making at the moment.
I think it's just far too cautious. He's always so worried about the opposition sometimes that he hasn't really allowed us to develop our own style of play and play to our strengths. And, it is quite baffling, but I reckon the reason he went with the team he did, and this is pure guesswork, but I reckon he looked at Saturday against Liverpool and like clearly playing Lacazette and Aubameyang together doesn't work. So you have to pick one. Then Odegaard is out. So automatically you need someone on that left-hand side. And I think he thought, well, Aubameyang didn't do a great job on that left-hand side. I want to go with someone with a bit more technical security who can track back, do a defensive job, especially given that our left-back was a deputy in Cedric. And I just think it's a nice idea, but it just relies on the way that you've decided that is by going, the solution there is Willian. And Willian just has proven so many times that, yeah, he might give you a little bit of, technical security over Aubameyang, and he might track back a little bit more, but he just offers nothing going forward in terms of offensive play, technical, like the ability to beat a man or play a decent pass. And again, with Lacazette, it's a safe but conservative option. You know what you're going to get. It'll be okay. It might work if he can play a through ball to Saka, and it almost did work sometimes. But when that doesn't work, you're left with almost nothing else. But like you said, Miles, with players like Pepe, players like Aubameyang, players like Martinelli, they have the ability to like just cause chaos. And when you cause chaos, anything can happen. And I just don't think he likes that chaos. He likes everything to be structured to go according to the plan.
It's interesting because there's I think with managers generally, there's like what they say and what they do. And with Arteta, what I've come to realize is those can be two very, very different things. And when he, in his interview, it was interesting, when he was asked to explain the team selection, he basically said, look, the Europa League gives us the opportunity to make 5 subs. So we know we can change the game in many ways, and we select our team in accordance with that. That's what he said. And to me, based on just what he said, it means that I'm willing to be proactive throughout this game with substitutions because I've got 5. I can do lots of different things. In reality, in terms of what actually happened, it's basically like you were describing, Aaron, where effectively to me, it looked like he said, I'm going to just be very robust. I'm not going to really go that crazy. I'm going to try and make sure that I don't concede. I'm not going to really go for it. And then at a later stage in the game, when hopefully they're tired, I'm going to like really throw a curveball in. I'm going to bring fast players on and I'm going to cause the madness. And it felt like...
Is that a bad plan?
I don't necessarily think it's a bad plan. I don't necessarily think it's a bad plan, but I don't think that it's, so again, it's like what he says and what he does. And I think therefore what he did was that it was fairly, he waited to make those subs. And they were it looked almost like pre-planned sub, maybe Partey for and then he wasn't pre-planned. But otherwise, I think bringing on Pepe and Auba and changing up the attacking players later, bringing on that pace may have been pre-planned. And Martinelli, also coming on later. Maybe that was pre-planned. And maybe it's not a bad tactic, but at the same time, I do think he's paid Prague a lot of respect there. And he said, this is my best way of getting a result, as opposed to saying, why can't I just go at these guys? And why can't I just back us to score a lot more than they do? And back our defenders to maybe keep a clean sheet. Like I know it's kind of romanticizing over the Wenger days, and obviously there's lots of things about the Wenger days that were frustrating. But Arsene Wenger would put a team out against Prague to say, "Go and batter this team," just go and batter the team, and we usually would batter the team. And that's today was a real annoyance of saying, have we just overthought this? Like, why couldn't we have just gone out and been expressive?
Yeah. So, I mean, just touching on kind of incidents through the game, I guess I mentioned the Saka chance. I mean, awful, really, wasn't it? I know you were saying, Raj, sorry, there's been a few of those from Saka in recent games. I think was it the West Ham game? He missed like a couple of really good chances.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's a couple that I can think of from exactly that position. One was the Wolves game right at the beginning. Do you remember where he hit the post, I think, and it was coming from that same right hand side, and it was almost like in the first few minutes. And then against Burnley, exactly the same. I think at this point it was still 0-0, and he was like really like literally in front of the keeper, and he kind of like he kind of like flat-footed it, and it went kind of wide of the post. And it's exactly the same angle, and he's done the same thing. And it's quite frustrating because we know what a great player he is, and I think that the positive thing about that is he's always getting himself in that position, which is really impressive. But for someone as good as he is, with as good as left foot as he has, like he's got to finish those. You have to.
Yeah, no excuses, right? But I think we all probably agree that, like, we know it's not really a major concern. Well, obviously, if he keeps missing chances, it will be a major concern. But I don't really worry that it's going to become a major thing. And like with any young player, you get these inconsistencies where their game isn't perfect. And Saka's finishing isn't yet perfect, but I'm sure it will get there. But obviously, you do expect your senior striker, when put clean through on goal on a one-on-one, to not need space to develop and just smash it in.
And he never looked.
Like, what happened there?
He
man?
never
It was
looked
weird,
like
wasn't it?
Yeah, go on, Mize.
No, I was probably going to say the same thing as what you're going to say, Raj. It was just really weird because what he did to win the ball back was quality, right? You know, really, really good pressing. And even when he was running through on goal, it's like he was doing it in slow motion. It was really weird. Like, but
I thought
maybe
the
that's just
defender
how
was going to
fast he
catch
runs.
him.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought the defender was going to catch him.
Like if that's Martinelli or Pepe or Saka going through on goal, they've gone, right? He was ambling towards goal. Was probably the best
looking
word.
around. And looking around.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, because he's
can I
worried.
pass
He
to
knows.
someone?
He know. Well, was it that? Or was he wondering he's
Maybe.
going to get caught up by the defender? I don't know. But yeah, it was such a weird. Like so he's got into the position where he's about to shoot, but he still didn't seem like he was set because it was almost like he's opening his body up at the last possible moment, and then he's just trying to this like clip kind of dink shot. I mean, I don't know why. Why normally what a striker does in that position is they give the keeper the eyes. Maybe pretend to go one way, go the other, or just like it wasn't a difficult chance, was it? And he made such a meal of it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you can say really about it. It's awful, especially considering he's a 40-50 million pound striker for what we're supposed to be a big club, and not the kind of chances that you should be missing.
It looked like when a centre back goes through on goal.
Yeah.
You know, when they just get there and they're like, oh my God. I don't know what I'm doing, and that's
unless you're Tony Adams. Tony Adams.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like okay, if I'm being nice to him, then there are times when strikers get in those situations where they've got so much time, it's almost detrimental. And Auba did that like a few games ago. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, in the Europa League.
Yeah, maybe. And he had a similar one where it was just maybe too much time. But that being said, like Laca. Because Martin Keown, he made some kind of point where to the effect of, that's a chance Lacazette scores all the time or whatever. But actually, Lacazette isn't really that striker who goes one-on-one with the keeper and stuff like that. Like anyway, so again, like maybe it's just something he hasn't done in a while. I don't know, but it was very, very poor.
And I think in between kind of our chances, that Laca one, I think there was another one where he gets to the ball at the far post from across from Saka and he's stretching. It's not a bad chance. In between those chances, like I was saying right at the start, Prague opened us up a couple of times and had their chances. There was one where Leno had to save with his legs. I think it was deflected shot off Bellerin. It's a decent save. So we were always running that risk of conceding. We never really looked that comfortable, to be fair. But yeah, we were talking about the subs that Arteta did make eventually, and obviously they had a massive impact. And the goal that we did score a few minutes to go, really, really good goal. Actually, I was extremely impressed with Aubameyang and Pepe, but I think Pepe especially is really I was going to say world class. It's kind of what I said to you guys was I think that's what Pepe is very, 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 very good at. Space in behind. And I think when the ball that's played through from Aubameyang, it's a decent ball. It's a good ball, but I think he only needs two touches. The first touch is perfect because he pushes it in front of him and gives him enough space to run onto the ball. And then the second touch is a dink to finish it. And it's the kind of thing we're hoping to see more of from him. He doesn't really get those opportunities in the Premier League because I guess we don't get him behind defenses that often. But it was a good goal, wasn't it, from our perspective?
Yeah, from both the perspective of Aubameyang's link-up play, which I think has been missing for some time, and the finish was excellent, really, and it was in that position where Saka's been missing a few, and I think it was kind of like this is how it's done type moment, and and it's what you expect of a player of that alleged quality, and it's the quality that we need to see more often. But in some ways, you could argue that it was almost the most difficult all-round opportunity of the various ones that we've listed. So it was just, it was obviously when you get the goal and you're a goal up, and at that point it was really weird, because the emotion that I felt was, okay, fine, we haven't played very well, but if we finish the game 1-0, that's a good result at home.
Perfect.
In a knockout game.
It's a good, it is a good result. It wasn't the easiest of games, was it? We kind of came into the game, I think three out of the four of us predicted a win, albeit a win while conceding. So 1-0 would have actually been a pretty good result, really. Aaron, were you going to say something there? Or?
No, I think 1-0 is fine. It's a good result. I didn't think. I thought Prague were pretty rubbish, to be honest. Like, maybe we overhyped them because they beat Leicester and they beat Rangers, but honestly, I think if they play any other team in the Premier League, that they gave that performance against any other team in the top 10 of the Premier League, they lose 3 or 4-0. I just thought we let them off hugely. And yeah, that's my biggest annoyance, is we were expecting like this really like slick football, not slick football inside, but tight, cohesive unit. I thought the defense was pretty rubbish. I don't think they defended well. They had a few chances, but I don't think they really troubled us like as a team. They got through because we switched off a few times. But yeah, like somehow they're walking away with maybe not an advantage, but certainly leaving in a very favourable position.
Yeah. So on their goal, into injury time, I think it was. So they actually almost scored just before they do score. So can't remember exactly how this even sort of transpires, but their player ends up having this kind of a bit of a pot shot from quite a difficult angle, and he almost catches Leno out. But it's a really, really good save from Leno, isn't it? Well, it's a good save from Leno. I think it's a save you'd expect him to make, but it's a decent save. And then you have to remind me, guys. So I know that he saves it, comes off the crossbar, does it? And then how I can't remember how we end up giving the ball away from there. So for them to then score.
I think before that, I was generally just pretty annoyed at how as soon as we scored, we just decided to sit back and let them come on to us for the last like 5 or 6 minutes. We brought Ceballos on, and we probably should have gone and got a second, really, because we were playing well. But
I mean, this is the other thing that, sorry to cut. I was going to say the other thing, I said it in our chat as well. The other thing that really annoyed me is they were celebrating the goal like we'd just gone 3 or 4 up. You know, we had about another 4 or 5 minutes to go plus added on time. And there was no urgency at all, from any of them to like, there was no one there saying like, Xhaka wasn't doing it. No one was doing it. Bellerin, say, come on, let's get the ball, put the ball back down and let's go again. Let's get the second, try and kill off the tie basically, or, as close as we can get to doing that. They were celebrating it like it was a comfortable win. That was, I was so annoyed about that because it just shows the attitude of this team, this club at the moment, I think in general. But yeah, it ties into what you were saying about us sitting back. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we just sat back and we were on top, right? We were playing well, we were creating chances, but then we brought Ceballos on for Smith Rowe, I believe. And no, I don't think Ceballos was to blame in any of this, but like after we scored, like we just thought, maybe it's what you said, Wise. Maybe they thought it was job done. But then we let them on and they decided to have a go, and they could have scored with that shot. And I think Leno should have probably done better to actually push it away, but he actually pushes it onto the crossbar and it comes back out. And I think we build up possession from there. And then Cedric has the ball from a goal kick. Maybe it's not from a goal kick. Cedric has the ball and he plays it to Gabriel, who I initially thought was under pressure, but he wasn't under any pressure whatsoever. And the ball just goes out of play for a corner, I think.
It's a terrible touch. First touch. Yeah. It's a really bad first touch from Gabriel. That's what causes the problem for him. His touch.
Yeah, I think
he has nothing else to do. He has no other option but to smash it out for a throw in. Yeah,
because Gabriel's reaction, it looked like he was having a go at Cedric for it, and I initially thought, oh, well, why did you play it to him in there? But it wasn't. This
is the thing with Cedric. I was going to say, this is the thing, right? He's not left-footed, so he's always. And I said it to you, right, when we were talking about ESR wasn't getting in the game in the first half, and obviously he's playing down that left-hand side. It's because there's no Cedric naturally isn't going to play it on his left. He's not going to take a pass on his left foot or play a pass on his left foot. So he's always going to come back in, play it inside on his right. So as much as Gabriel might have been annoyed about it, I don't think you can put any fault down to Cedric for that one. It's, pass was easy enough to do something with, even if it's hoof it down the pitch and, clear your lines and reorganize and push up sort of thing.
Yeah, especially when, that's a good point, right, Miles, because you've got Gabriel who's left-footed, right? And if he's passing outwards, he's only going to be able to pass it to Cedric if he's facing backwards and taking on his right, or he's going to take it on the inside of his right foot. So it's just, it wasn't ideal. But even then, come on, Gabriel should be doing way better with that pass. It was a straightforward pass. He took a terrible touch, and I think from there.
It's that classic reaction of, when I think you've messed up and then you just immediately want to blame someone else.
But even then, from a corner, just, like players make mistakes. Players put balls out for corners. Just don't concede from the corner. Like, defend properly.
They shit themselves, didn't they, really? It's pretty much what happened, right? Did you... I watched the goal, their goal back a couple of times. I did think... I don't put any fault on Pepe for that. I don't know if anyone has. Like, I haven't checked Twitter and stuff. He seems to sort of just not know what to do. It comes out of no. But then I did feel like Cedric at the back post could have done a bit more. He seems to just get out muscled by whoever it is that scores. Is it Holles, whatever his name is? He seems to kind of get out muscle. Basically, one player wants to get there more than the other. And once the ball gets over to him, Cedric's like nowhere near it. Really, he's just trying to put the guy off. But that was a bit disappointing, really. But
I think as a collective, it was just quite disappointing because it felt like they almost all felt like, okay, look, the whistle's going to blow. Like, let me just not do anything stupid here. And no one necessarily, wanted to take control of that. It took charge, exactly. And that's what it smelt like a little bit to me. And it's just not how you approach things. It's just not professional. Was actually, I thought the back four overall in the game did a decent job. In fact, I think they did a decent job because the central midfielders the distribution was awful today. Partey and Xhaka.
Partey
especially. Yeah, Partey especially.
He had a bad game.
Just stunk the place out. Like, he just absolutely stunk the place out. And he was just constantly putting us into difficult positions. He was losing the ball, whether that's like through a misplaced pass or through miscontrol, and constantly, therefore, the back four was being exposed. And I think overall, actually, they did a good job until the last 5 minutes, where it felt like everything just went to pot a little bit. And Gabriel, like, yes, not to go over it again, but he should be doing better in that situation. And then when it's a corner, they all collectively, I think, should just be in a situation where they're saying there is no way we are conceding this. Like, there was no way, but that just didn't happen. Just very disappointing, because you could tell from like, from my, I guess your point on being annoyed at their celebration, etc. I don't mind that so much that they kind of got in a situation where we scored finally, and they probably felt, you know what, 1-0, clean sheet, fine, let's just see this out at that stage of the game. I don't mind that element, but you need leaders in that final kind of little period to then just make sure that you do not screw it up. And it just felt that we were waiting for the final whistle as opposed to, really taking charge.
I guess, yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, I guess with no David Luiz, no Kieran Tierney as well, you've taken a couple of the leaders are not on the pitch at that point as well, or what you might, the guys that you probably look at as leaders in our team, along with the likes of Granit Xhaka. Yeah, it's a frustrating result. It is only half time. We have the ability to go there and get away goals. We're going to have to do that now. I guess this kind of leads nicely onto our game at the weekend, because we obviously haven't got the buffer that we would have wanted to in the first leg. That second leg is now huge. Arteta probably can't afford to risk any kind of 50-50 players or any players that are carrying a bit of a niggle in the game against Sheffield United. So how do you think he's going to approach the league game now, with Prague on the horizon, knowing that we're going to need a big performance and a big result on Thursday in a week's time?
Yeah, it's a really tricky one. We've discussed this before, but I think it will have to be a mix, right? Anyone who is 50-50, you don't play. That's obvious and fair, right? So if Saka's still carrying a knock, or if Smith Rowe's not fully fit, then don't play them. But we do need to just find some form, or just like start to figure out a system that we like. We need to stop this, chopping and changing of like figuring out who our main striker is, how we actually build up. And because we do have a nice run of league games now. So, regardless of what happens in Europe, we can't, it will be ridiculous if we started just losing every single league game anyway. So we do have to still play to get points. Thankfully, I don't think Sheffield United are very good, but, we will find a way to make it difficult.
I think the difficult thing is that Arteta's not. We're so far into the season, yet he's still got so many question marks at this point as to what his best team is. And going forward, when we played Liverpool, fine, we all agreed it was a terrible performance. But one of the things we sort of were saying was, oh, okay, well, Saka didn't play and ESR didn't play, and if they had played, it would have been better. And we said Auba and Pepe and Laca. That's theory, kind of. There's a lot of backup players there, But today, and I know Saka's coming back from injury. It's not a big injury though. It didn't keep him out for ages, and Pepe came on as a sub and was much better than Saka, in my opinion. And I'm not saying
I think
Pepe
that's harsh, right?
Well, I don't know, Aaron, because to be honest, like I know that Saka was probably our best player for the period of the game prior to him going off. Like he probably was our best, but that wasn't saying much. Like that wasn't really saying that much at all. And at that level, whether you're 19, like we can talk about him as an individual and say, yes, let's accept the fact that he is 19 and he's not going to be perfect and like he'll be that's cool, that's fine. But when you're talking about, all right, the best team that you put on a pitch, you kind of have to forget all that and you just have expectations of the team as a unit. And the fact of the matter is, he as an individual got into positions where he should be doing better and he didn't. And at this level, you should be. And then Pepe came on and was much more impactful. The output that he was providing in that period of time, and maybe it's a case that Prague were knackered and that helped. Yeah, like fair enough. But I guess the point I was going with all this is that ultimately, like Pepe, given what he's just done now, does Arteta now think, oh, actually, maybe I should be playing Pepe on Sunday, or actually, maybe I need to play Saka into form, or actually, who is the player basically that he needs to protect, or who is the front four that he thinks is going to be his best side for Prague, in the away leg. And I don't think he knows that. So I don't think that his selection against Sheffield United is going to be that straightforward. I almost think like he's almost just got to say, well, whatever I do, I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. Like, whatever I do is going to be the right decision. Whatever I do is going to be the wrong decision.
But surely, like, to go back to your point of he doesn't know who his best front four are, surely he knows that Saka, Smith Rowe, and Odegaard are three of those players. I don't think there's any doubt about that, right? The only question is who plays alongside them up front to get the best out of those three and add to those three. And I think it's fairly clear that it's Aubameyang, but for some reason the manager seems to have doubts about it. And the question is, why does he have those doubts? Why does he have doubts about Aubameyang playing up front when based on a game where he's played on the left against Liverpool? Why does he have doubts about why does he bring in Willian all of a sudden to fix that problem? So I think sometimes he makes it harder for himself. I think it's very clear that we played our best football with Aubameyang up top and those three behind him. Yeah, Odegaard wasn't playing today, so he did have to tinker a bit. But stick to that basic principle. You've got Aubameyang fit. You've got Smith Rowe. You've got Saka. Play them, and then just figure out a different alternative to compensate for the missing players.
But do you think, even in the case of ES, so look, I agree. If you were to ask me who I think our best front four is, then I'd say I think exactly the same front four that you've effectively mentioned there. I think I would say that. But I don't think it's that obvious to the point where I don't think all those four players have cemented their place per se. And the other players who are waiting are very, very comfortably their number twos. And I say that purely by the fact of where we are in the league and our output at the moment, even, right? Like we couldn't beat Prague today, and we really, really should have. And ESR and Saka are in my starting lineup, but both those players, they didn't do anything today. Like they didn't.
Yeah,
It was only after those other players came on that we actually ended up scoring, as I said. So again, like, does Arteta have legitimate question marks in his head at this point? Going, do I just need to keep playing form players now? Is it all about form? And therefore, do I look at Pepe, and do I think Pepe's got the best chance of getting me a win against?
But who is in form? No one's in form.
Well, but you can argue on the last 15 minutes that, like, even purely just based on that 15 minutes, you could say Aubameyang and Pepe, are playing better than whether it be Laca and Saka. I don't know. And you could maybe say, is Saka fit? I don't know. All that kind of stuff. Like, so I don't think it's that obvious. Like, I don't think, I guess the benefit he has is that, he's got a game against Sheffield United, and the league doesn't matter too much to us anymore, let's be honest. And maybe he can, like, just try and go and play some players into form and whatever. But I think he's going to have to look at the Prague away leg in a much smarter way, I think. And he's going to have to, if we can't just go there and assume that we can control the game and then nick a goal. Like, he can't do that. Like, so this tactic that he's played today, it can't be the tactic when we go there. So he's going to have to figure out what tactic is going to work and what his best players are that are going to, kind of execute against that.
Yeah, well, maybe the scoreline actually helps, right? Because we have to go there and score. And in all honesty, we will probably need more than one. And if we score two, then they'll need to score three, right? So I think it helps that we will need to go there knowing we most likely will need to score 2 goals to go through. And that gives us a bit of onus to play our most attacking lineup and try and score and not worry too much about what they do.
He doesn't seem to like to do that, though, does he?
No, he doesn't. But he's going to have to.
Honestly, if I'm going to put a bet down now, I don't think he still would. I still think he will approach that game and think, do you know what? I'm going to try and control this game and win 1-0, or, like, win by a small margin. I think that
we haven't kept a clean sheet in like 14 games or something, right? I mean, I'm just saying, as in, would make absolutely no sense to try.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah,
I just don't think that's how he wants, what his vision for us is. And I think he's more committed to executing against how he thinks that he wants us to play going forward and who he wants us to be. And so I just can't. Can you recall a game? Can you recall, unless he basically says, listen, guys, do what you did against West Ham in the second half? I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's going to have to be something different. I think we all agree he can't just do the same thing.
Yeah, the worry is they haven't lost a home game all season, right? So, in any competition.
And I think they're allowed fans as well, aren't they?
Apparently, yeah.
I think they've got at least a small number of fans. Yeah, small. Yeah.
Interesting to know that. Okay, well, yeah. Before we have to worry about what's going to happen next week, we've got Sheffield United on Sunday. Bit of a weird one, really, because we haven't talked about the game too much and how we think it's going to go. But I'll get your predictions, guys, on what result you think we will get. Aaron and.
Well, I predicted we'd win this one 4-1, so I'm not sure what my predictions are worth, but we're away from home, aren't we? I'm going to stop being optimistic and I will go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. Can I be really boring and say the same thing? I actually agree with that. I can't. we've put 2 bad performances in a row. I think although we still end up having a lot of chances today, I don't think we'll do that against a Premier League opposition. And I think maybe 1-1.
Okay. I think it'll be a draw as well. I was going to say 0-0. I think, I just think it's going to be a bit of a crap
How
game.
we have fallen, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they're going to be thinking about Thursday. And the league's gone, hasn't it, really? So, I don't think it's going to be a particularly good game. And I think it's going to be all about Thursday next week in Prague. But all right, guys. Indeed, yeah. All right, well, good chat. And we will catch everyone again following the Sheffield United game on Sunday. So thanks again for tuning in and see you next time.
Bye.
Boys.
Yeah. Bye.